to quit alcohol on your own. Can it be done? The answer simply is yes, it can. My name's Michaela Weaver, and in this video I'm going to talk you through some key things that you'll need to think about and have in place, and also some pitfalls that I want you to avoid as well. And so it's a question that many people ask. Many people, millions of people fall into the alcohol trap every year and find it incredibly difficult, first of all, to identify the fact that they're in a trap at all, and secondly, to actually find their way out of it. So the fact that you've identified that it's a problem for you and that you have fallen for the alcohol con, you've fallen into the alcohol trap, you found yourself addicted to a highly addictive drug. The fact that you've recognized that is an enormous step forward. So the first thing that you're going to need is something called agency. And agency doesn't mean that you recruit a company to help do this for you. Agency means that you have about you what is needed to take action. You need to be an action taker. You need to be a decisive person. And so the fact that you're watching this indicates to me that you may well be. So agency is what enables people to do stuff. Somebody without agency will just sit with a problem for months, years, forever and do nothing about it. So agency is that thing, that spark that says, do you know what? I've just had enough and I need to do something about that. So that is the first thing that you're going to need. You're going to need to want to be the other side of that problem. Now, right now you might be feeling fearful. And often I find that people who come to me are fearful because of success. How can I live without wine? And also fearful of failure. What happens if the same thing happens as last time and I try this and I fail? So that fear is very real and common. So if that's where you are right now, then rest assured that you are by no means alone. So if you're setting out on this journey and want to do it yourself, then maybe you've tried to do it yourself in the past and failed. Which is why maybe you're watching this video. How can I do it on my own? And so possibly the method that you've been using up until now hasn't been serving you well. And so I'm going to talk you through that, because if you've been using this method and not succeeding, then that's why you've not succeeded and you've failed up until now. So the method that everybody uses initially is willpower. People think, and you might be thinking right now, that if you just be determined enough, if you just set it out in stone, if you just absolutely decide and can only stick to it, and by it I mean your decision to not drink today, tonight, tomorrow, if you can only do that, then you would have won. Now the problem is that willpower only works for a certain amount of time, and for some people it can be a week, 2 weeks, even 3 months where people can stop drinking alcohol and just rely on willpower. But over time, willpower is like a battery and it just runs out. And so what happens is that if we think of our mind as a whole, there are several components to it, obviously. But if we just really narrow it right down, we have our conscious decision-making part of our mind, which is where we make the decision to stop drinking. That's about 5%. And then we have our subconscious mind, which is an enormous 95% of our entire mind. And so if that subconscious mind isn't in alignment with the decision that the conscious mind makes, then we have a battle of the wheels and we have a kind of disagreement in our brains, and that is exhausting to live with. And that is what the willpower method actually sets you up for, because the will is in the 5% and the subconscious is the 95%, and these two will be at loggerheads until a different method is used. And the different method that you're going to need to employ is to retrain, refocus everything about the subconscious mind, so that the subconscious mind sees absolutely no benefit in alcohol whatsoever. Because if you think about it, if there is something that you absolutely don't want, imagine you hate spinach you absolutely just don't want to have it. And spinach actually is quite good for you, whereas alcohol is a highly toxic, cancer-causing poison and is not good for you at all. So maybe it's not the best example, but you know what I mean. Take something that you really, really, really don't want. Maybe you just really, really don't want to go hang gliding. Then, if I said to you, you just can't go hang gliding today, you'd go, well, I don't want to. Why on earth would I want to go hang gliding? I couldn't think of anything worse other than maybe eating spinach. You get it? So you've really got to not want alcohol. And the only way to not want it is to really see no benefit in it whatsoever. And so that is what's required. And in addition to that, there are memories that have been established around alcohol that need to kind of be rewritten and understood. And the whole of the addiction process needs to be understood as well. And when you've got all that in place, you will find that both your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are, as the phrase goes, singing from the same hymn book. They're both kind of thinking the same thing, which is, I don't want this. I would no more drink alcohol than I would inject myself with heroin. And that's where you want to get to solve the problem that alcohol causes, to obliterate the addiction that alcohol does become for us. And so there's a couple of other things I just want to whiz through you before I finish this video to be mindful of. One is something called fading effect bias. And what this does for us is that over time, and you will understand this when I explain, over time what happens is all of those really awful memories we have around the times when we were drunk and said something that we didn't mean, that we've forgotten about, that we did something that we would never do when we're sober, all of those things that cause us that awful guilt, anxiety, all of those things that we get at 4 a.m. in the morning when we wake up with that hangover. All of those things and all of those memories fade over time, fading effect bias. And so even though on day one we may set ourselves this very, very good and clear and conscious goal that we're going to stop drinking alcohol, over time the memories of all of those bad times fade away. And the reason for that is because as human beings, our biology has evolved that we need hope and we need to continue to be motivated to do stuff in life. And bad things happen to all of us. And if those bad things and those bad memories were always really, really, really positive and clear in our minds, then maybe we would not step forward and do too much in the future. So we just forget those bad times. So be aware of the fact that when that starts happening, that's your biological survival instinct kicking in, and you need to override that because your conscious decision that you made to stop drinking is the right one. That is the one that you made knowing all of the facts, and that hasn't changed. So if your subconscious mind starts playing you up and telling you that it'll be okay or that it wasn't so bad or all of that stuff, then remember what I've said to you here today, that is your subconscious mind and your memories just doing what your biology is naturally meant to do. But in this instance, it really is not very helpful at all. So willpower, it really doesn't work because it fades away, because the subconscious mind is so huge. Fading effect bias means that our memories of the bad times just fade away, and we need to remind ourselves that, no, they are actually real. And the final point I'm just going to mention to you is those beliefs. We need to stop believing that alcohol has any benefit whatsoever. So that just like going hang gliding, if we would really can't stand the thought of it, or eating spinach, we just need to not want it, to not like it, and to see that there's no benefit in it whatsoever. And when that happens, then you would have worked through all of this for yourself, and you can do it. You have all the resources that you need. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, so that you don't miss any more of these videos. And as always, if you'd like some help with it, then check into the services that I provide. My name's Michaela Weaver, and thank you for listening.